Hi guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome to another video. So in this video I am just going to be going through everything that I've picked up in the month of November 2024. There's a few Blu-rays here, there's a few 4Ks, and there's one very special item, a box set that I got in the Black Friday sale. I'll show you that at the end of the video, but yeah, let's just get straight into it. So I picked up a few titles in the Eureka sale, and the first one we have here is a movie called Casino Raiders. So this is an action thriller from 1989. It's about these two guys, two best friends who are released from prison. They end up working for this casino and they're tasked with investigating these Japanese gangsters who frequent the casino, and they're tasked with investigating them because the casino thinks they might be cheating during poker games and things like that. But once they start investigating them, their lives end up being in danger because, you know, these gangsters are actually dangerous, and it kind of escalates from there. Yeah, I thought it was a decent little thriller. I was hoping for a little bit more action. I think it probably goes more on the gambling side. There's a lot of scenes of like poker games and things like that. So it's more about the tension that's raised through those sorts of scenes. But yeah, it was a decent little thriller. So yeah, that is Casino Raiders. Next up, we have another release from Eureka, and this is one that I originally missed out on when it first came out, but then sometime later they announced that they had a small batch of them left, and I decided to get a copy, although I might be regretting that decision a little bit. But it's a movie called Future Cops. So this is another Hong Kong action film from 1993. This is an action sci-fi film. It's set in the future. It's about this general, this evil general that is imprisoned by a judge. And the general is able to get some of his warriors together to go back in time and basically to change the future. And in doing so, they try to brainwash the judge. It's a very, very silly film. It's very goofy, but I wasn't the biggest fan of it. I think it has a bit of a cult following because it's sort of like an unofficial adaptation of the Street Fighter games. A lot of the characters kind of look like characters from the games, although they have different names, of course. But yeah, like I said, I wasn't really a fan of this one. I found the brand of action very, very over the top. The acting was a bit poor. The story was very, very silly. And yeah, I just wasn't really a big fan of it. But yeah, like I said, this was very, very limited from Eureka. I think they made 1,000 copies, and then after they were all gone, that was it. So if you're thinking of getting this kind of secondhand, I would maybe tread carefully, because for me, it wasn't really that great, and I just wouldn't want to see someone pay a lot of money for this one. Yeah, because for me, I just thought it was not that great. So yeah, that is Future Cops. Next up, we have another release from Eureka. This is a brand new one for them, and it's a movie called Juggernaut. So this is a movie that came out in 1974, directed by Richard Lester, and it's about these terrorists that plant these bombs on a cruise ship as it sets sail, and they threaten to blow the ship up if their demands aren't met. And basically a team of specialists have to parachute onto the ship and try and disarm the bombs before they blow up. And yeah, I thought it was a decent little film. It wasn't really as exciting as I hoped it would be, but it had its moments. It's got a really good cast in there. You've got Richard Harris in there. You've got David Hemmings, Anthony Hopkins, Shirley Knight, Ian Holm, Clifton James, Roy Kinnear, a lot of great names from the 70s in there. And it kind of has that feel of other disaster/terrorism films, you know, like the likes of Poseidon Adventure, Towering Inferno, Roller Coaster, 2 Minute Warning, that kind of stuff. So if you like movies like that, you might enjoy this one. So yeah, that is Juggernaut. Next up, we have a box set from Indicator, and this was a very anticipated release for myself. And it is the Pryor and Wilder collection. So this is a collection of 3 of the 4 movies starring Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor. We have Stare Crazy, See No Evil, Hear No Evil, and Another You. Yeah, I was very excited for this release. I kind of grew up on these 2 actors. I love the movies that they've made, particularly Stare Crazy. That's the one where they get accused of, they get framed for a bank robbery and are sent to prison. and they have to basically adjust to their new lives in prison, and hilarious results ensue. And then you've got See No Evil, Hear No Evil, where kind of a similar plot. They get accused of a murder and they have to go on the run. But with that one, we've got Gene Wilder playing a deaf man, and we've got Richard Pryor playing a blind man. And yeah, very, very silly film, but I love it nonetheless. And then we have Another You, which is definitely the weakest of the three, but it still has its moments. This one sees Gene Wilder playing like this compulsive liar, who is sort of has a case of mistaken identity, where this family believe he's actually this billionaire, and Richard Pryor plays like a con man who decides to take advantage of the situation, but the two end up teaming up to deal with this conspiracy. Yeah, all three movies I really enjoy. Like I said, Another You is not the greatest. It's not as good as the first two, but it's still a solid film. And yeah, very nice box set, and glad to have it in the collection. So yeah, that is the Pryor and Wilder box set. Next up, we have another release from Eureka. This one I got in their sale, and it's a movie called When Taekwondo Strikes. So this is a martial arts film from the early 70s, kind of that era when they were very, very popular with the likes of Bruce Lee. This film is about, well, it's set in Korea during the Japanese occupation, and it's about this group of characters who get into a fight with this Japanese gang. The gang retaliate by kidnapping some of their friends, and the main characters basically have to go and rescue their friends. And yeah, I really enjoyed this one. It was just a fun movie, plenty of action, plenty of fight scenes, and yeah, just a real good time. So yeah, if you like your sort of old school martial arts action films from the early 70s, those sorts of Bruce Lee type of films, I would definitely recommend this one. So yeah, that is When Taekwondo Strikes. Another one from the Eureka sale, and we have Yakuza Wolf 1 and 2. This is a collection of 2 films starring Sonny Chiba. The first one is basically about this guy who decides to take revenge against these gangsters who had his father murdered, and he does so by pitting the gang against another gang and lets them sort of play off each other. So it's a very similar plot, kind of like Yojimbo and Clint Eastwood in A Fistful of Dollars. But yeah, really solid Japanese gangster film. And then the second one, we see Sonny Chiba playing, for me, he's playing a different character. It doesn't feel like a sequel, but like a sequel in name only. But he plays this guy who is betrayed by this gang, these gangsters, sent to prison. After he's released from prison, he decides to take revenge against them. So yeah, it's a great collection of 2 Japanese gangster movies, and yeah, I really, really enjoyed them. So yeah, that is Yakuza Wolf 1 and 2. Right, so on to the 4Ks now, and the first one we have here is a new release from Scream Factory, and we have Death Becomes Her. This is a classic dark comedy from the early 90s, starring Bruce Willis, Meryl Streep, and Goldie Hawn. Goldie Hawn basically plays this woman who decides to take revenge against Meryl Streep's character because she has stolen her husband from her, played by Bruce Willis. Meryl Streep's character is equally threatened by Goldie Hawn's because she looks very good for her age, whereas Meryl Streep's character feels like she doesn't anymore, and she ends up acquiring this potion that gives her eternal life, basically, and makes her appear younger. But it has drastic side effects, as you can imagine. And yeah, Bruce Willis basically plays like the weedy, spineless husband guy who's kind of in the middle of the two of them. And yeah, just hilarious things happen from then on. It's just such a great movie, great direction from Robert Zemeckis. It's just so fun, so over the top. But yeah, it's just a classic comedy for me from the early 90s. So yeah, that is Death Becomes Her on 4K. Next up, we have a new release from Arrow US, and we have A Simple Plan on 4K. This is a thriller from the late 90s, directed by Sam Raimi. It stars Bill Paxton, Billy Bob Thornton, and Bridget Fonda. And yeah, this is a fantastic thriller. It's about these 3 friends who are out walking just outside their small town in Minnesota. They find this plane crash, and when they investigate, they find this bag full of money. And they decide to kind of keep it a secret between themselves, keep the money for themselves. But then all the secrecy and the paranoia, they kind of start to lose trust in each other, and things start to escalate from there between this small group of characters. It's a fantastic thriller and probably one of Sam Raimi's best and most underrated films for me. So I would definitely check out A Simple Plan. Next up, we have The Terminator on 4K. I don't need to say too much about this movie. I'm sure a lot of you have probably seen it. If you haven't, it's basically about this film that's set in the future where machines have taken over, and the machines have to send back this Terminator, played by Arnold Schwarzenegger. They have to send him back in time to kill this woman by the name of Sarah Connor. The reason why they have to kill her is because her son will become the future resistance leader who will fight back against the machines. And we've also got Michael Biehn in there, who plays the character of Kyle Reese, and he is sent back to protect Sarah Connor, who is played by Linda Hamilton. And just a fantastic sci-fi action film. It put Arnold Schwarzenegger on the map. It put James Cameron on the map. Just a fantastic movie. I do prefer Terminator 2, but only by a whisker. This is still a fantastic movie and looks really good on 4K. And I am so glad that they decided to include the original soundtrack to this. It's so good to hear the original sound effects in the movie, because when this movie came out on DVD and Blu-ray, I was always a little bit disappointed that they decided to change a lot of the sound effects, like the explosions and the guns and all that kind of stuff. But it's good to have it sort of back to its original form, if you like. But fantastic movie, The Terminator. Next up, we have another new release, this one from the BFI, and it is Akira Kurosawa's Seven Samurai. This is, for a lot of people, a classic film from the 1950s. It's basically about this village who are constantly attacked by these bandits, and the villagers decide to get together 7 warriors to form this group to fight back against the bandits. Movies like The Magnificent Seven would take a lot of inspiration from it. And I'm looking forward to checking this one out, because it's been a good few years since I've seen it. And I've got to admit, I liked the film, but it wasn't one that I really, really loved, considering a lot of people consider it a classic. But I'm hoping on a rewatch, I will enjoy it a hell of a lot more. But that is Seven Samurai. Next up, we have a brand new release, this one from Arrow Video. This one actually came a few days early, and it is The Great Escape. This is a classic film from the 1960s starring Steve McQueen. It's basically about this group of World War II soldiers who are being held prisoner, and they decide to plan this great escape. And what I love about this movie in particular is the last act of the film, where they do escape and they all kind of venture off in their own directions, and the German soldiers have to go hunting them down. Just such a great film, and one that I always remember watching around about the Christmas period. So it's nice to see it get a release around about this time. But what's really interesting about this release is you get the sequel, The Great Escape 2. I've not seen it. I don't actually think it is a sequel. I think it's more of a remake made for television, and it stars Christopher Reeve. But the interesting thing about it is that the sequel is also on 4K. I thought it would just be a Blu-ray release, especially because it's a TV movie, but no, it's definitely 4K. So that's a bit of an added bonus if you're thinking about getting this box set. But like I said, great movie. Can't wait to rewatch it. The Great Escape. Next up, we have a box set release from Warner Brothers, and this is for the classic Alfred Hitchcock movie, North by Northwest, starring Cary Grant. This is a fantastic film that was released in 1959. It's a tale of mistaken identity. Cary Grant plays this innocent man who finds himself being pursued by these agents of a mysterious organization. These agents think that he will prevent their organization from smuggling out this microfilm, and the actual real people who are involved are sort of in pursuit as well, and Cary Grant has to sort of, flee across country to get away from these people who are trying to kill him. And yeah, it's just a fantastic movie. It's got some great set pieces in it, great looking film. It's just got so much fun to it, so much suspense, and yeah, just a fantastic movie. If you've never seen a Hitchcock film, this is definitely one to start with. Yeah, fantastic film, North by Northwest. So as I mentioned earlier in the video, I also picked up a box set in the Black Friday sale. This was originally priced at, I think, about 120, 130 pounds, and I've been looking at this item for a very long time, but I'd always been kind of reluctant to pull the trigger with the price. But during Black Friday, it went down to about £80, and I thought, yeah, I'm going to get it, because I always knew if I missed out on this, I'd always regret it. And it is the Superman Steelbook collection. So this is a box set which contains Superman 1 to 4, the 4 Christopher Reeve Superman movies. And yeah, I'm just so glad to finally have this in the collection. I'm not really a big Steelbook fan, but I was always kind of drawn to these ones. I just think they look great. So we have Superman 1 there. We have Superman 2, which contains the original cut and the Richard Donner cut. We then have the infamous Superman 3. And then we have the even more infamous Superman 4, The Quest for Peace. And then as well as that, there's also an additional steelbook which contains like a few goodies inside, a few booklets and little items like that. But yeah, it's a lovely box set, and the films I really enjoy as well. I mean, the original one, the first Superman, yeah, great movie, sort of game-changing for the superhero genre. In terms of movies, and yeah, just a fantastic film. Christopher Reeve's great in it, Gene Hackman, Marlon Brando, Margot Kidder. Yeah, just a great film, although not necessarily my favourite of the 4. That would go to Superman 2, which is pretty much a direct follow-up to the first one, but I like this one more because Superman's already established by the time this one starts, and he's also facing off against villains who can kind of go toe-to-toe with him. So there's just a little bit more action in this one for me, which is why I've always enjoyed it a lot more. And then we have Superman 3. I said this one was infamous. I mean, it's a weird film. It's kind of like, you know, you've got Superman in it, but then you've got this other character played by Richard Pryor, and he just feels very out of place in the movie. And yeah, it's tonally very, very strange. But there are aspects to this film I do like. I do like the scenes where Superman becomes evil. He ends up fighting against his good self in the junkyard, which is great fun. And then I think the finale is pretty fun as well. It does have a lot of decent moments in it, but it is a strange film and very flawed. And then we have Superman 4, which was, by all accounts, a bit of a mess to make. This one was released by Cannon Films, and you know, from what I've read about it, they basically released this movie unfinished. They ran out of money and basically just kind of cut corners in every way possible. But I still enjoy this movie a little bit. It's a lot shorter than the rest of them. It has a lot of action. It feels more like a Superman film than Superman 3, but yeah, it still has a lot of issues to it. But I enjoy all 4 of them on the whole. But yeah, the first 2 are definitely the strongest by a long mile. So yeah, that is the Superman Steelbook collection on 4K. So there you go, guys. Those are all of my pickups for the month of November 2024. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comments below if you've seen any of these movies. Have you picked up any of these particular releases? I would really love to hear your thoughts. So thanks again for watching, guys, and I will see you all again on the next one. So take care, guys.